everybody, welcome back to Hot Wholesale. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in. If you haven't ever been here before, like, comment, subscribe if you like what you hear today, and go back, look at all the videos. I have a video called YouTube University, How to Learn Wholesaling for Free, and I really suggest that for anyone who's just starting out wholesaling. I literally talk about every single YouTube video that I used to learn how to wholesale for free using YouTube. So that's a great resource. Today though, I want to talk about title companies and closing attorneys. This has been a question that I've been getting a lot in my DMs on Instagram. What's a title company? What's a closing attorney? What's the difference? How do you find them? And what do they do, right? So, number one, title companies, closing attorneys, they basically serve the same function. When you're going to purchase a property, any property, you want to do what's called a title search to make sure there's no liens, back taxes, or what they call encumbrances on the property. Encumbrances are anything that will prevent the property from being sold free and clear. You buy the house and years later something else pops up. Someone says, hey, I fixed the roof there 10 years ago and they never paid me. Well, to prevent that, you do a title search and make sure the title is clean. A title company can perform that for you. A closing attorney also can. The title search is basically mandatory in most deals. Some buyers will do it themselves. I have had a few instances where I have sold a property without a title company or closing attorney and used what's called a quitclaim deed, and the buyer performs their own title search and decides, you know what, I want to take this property. Why would they do that? So they don't have to pay the extra closing fees. Because using a title company or closing attorney, you're going to pay some extra fees there. You could record the deed straight with the county and avoid those fees. Why were those fees important to these specific deals? Because they were such low price deals, maybe like $2,000, $5,000 is what they were purchasing these properties for, and then they had huge back taxes of like $40K. They didn't want to spend the extra $1,500, $1,600 closing that deal, so they just ran their own title search, made sure there was nothing else besides the back taxes, and then the seller and the buyer signed the quitclaim deed, they record it with the county, and now they're the new owners. So that's pretty much how that goes if you're not using a title company or a closing attorney. The difference between the two, I have never honestly used a closing attorney. The states that I work in use title companies, so I can't tell you too much about closing attorneys. I do know that it just depends on what state you're in. I think New York uses closing attorneys, whereas Nevada, I know Texas, Ohio, Missouri use title companies. So it just depends where you are on which one you're going to use. So that is what title companies and closing attorneys are. The little difference of them, it just depends on where you are. That just depends on what you're going to use and what they do. Now, how to find them. There's a few different ways. You could, of course, just do a basic Google search and put title companies, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Title companies, whatever city you're in, closing attorneys, whatever city you're in, and a list will pop up. You can call through them. But the key is you want them to be an investor-friendly or a wholesaler-friendly title company or closing attorney, which means they do an assignment, which is our typical, we get our contract from the seller and then we assign it to the buyer. That's something that an investor-friendly title company would do. Double close, which is using the money from the second close to actually fund the first transaction. They just do them back to back. They get the money in, then they close this one, and you get paid. A double close prevents the end buyer from seeing how much you actually make on the deal. Another way to prevent that is a blind HUD, which is also great if you ask the title company, closing attorney, do you guys do blind HUDs? That will also prevent anyone from knowing what your assignment fee is. It will just show their part of the deal on the closing documents when they go to sign. So I think that's really beneficial if you can find one that does do blind HUDs. Of course, it's not necessary. The goal is to find buyers who are okay with you making money and making your assignment fee. And the goal is also to be getting deals that are low enough for you to be able to ask for that higher price for you to make your assignment fee that you desire. That's the real key to it. If you're locking up your deal low enough, you will be able to make money on the deal. It's when you're locking them up at numbers that maybe are iffy that you're going to start seeing a smaller and smaller spread, and where a buyer might say, oh wow, they're making that much money? This isn't really that good of a deal. They really shouldn't do that, because if they agree to a number up front, that should be fine with them. But there are some people who feel like when they see you making a lot of money and they're already unsure about the deal, that might tip them over the edge. So to prevent that, either get the deal really low or do blind HUDs, double closes if you're making like a huge assignment fee. You can do a double close. It just makes things go smoother. That's pretty much the basics. You can find them also on Facebook groups, so that's where I go. So in the Facebook groups that are relevant to your market, it could be Minnesota Real Estate Investors Club or Austin, Texas Wholesalers and Cash Buyers. Whatever the groups are in your market, go into those groups and you can either look in this little search bar in the little files or search whatever they have in that group and search investor friendly or wholesaler friendly title companies or closing attorneys, or you could just write in the group and ask again yourself. Usually these groups have that question asked a million times though, so you don't really need to do it again. You can just search in the group. If you can't find anything sufficient, make your own post and then contact all of these title companies, all of these closing attorneys, and ask them those questions. Do you guys do double closes? Do you guys do assignments? Do you do blind HUDs? Do you work with investors? A lot of times title companies will have like a specific agent for investors or a department for investors if they're a larger company. So that's always really convenient because they know exactly what's going on. They only work with investors. That person only works with investors. So it's really smooth and easy. But that's pretty much the basics on title companies, closing attorneys. If I left anything out and you do have any questions about this topic specifically, leave it in the comments and I'll go back and try to make sure that I try to answer everyone's comments relevant to this topic in the comments of this YouTube video. Thank you guys so much again for being here. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.